Thanks, Chris. Hello, everyone. My name is David Fern. I'm Director of Programmes for the Interior Programmes to talk about the subject and studying the subject at Middlesex. But I want to also reassure you that October, despite this very interesting situation that we find ourselves in, obviously a lot of things have been affected during this time. And as a result, I'm communicating to you this way. Normally I would be standing in front of you on campus, talking to you about the programmes and trying to welcome you to join. And I'd be talking about 10 good reasons to choose Middlesex University over other schools. But I want to, because of this unprecedented situation, firstly talk a little bit more reassuringly about how our programmes have adapted to the need to change that has been brought on by coronavirus. And I want to reassure you that during this time, should this situation continue and we're not allowed to completely go back onto campus, you will get a great learning experience by choosing Middlesex, and an uncompromised learning experience at that. We're expecting to greet you on campus as planned, but there might be a possibility, if the government advice goes that way, that we can't fully greet you on campus, and therefore we will have to adapt the virtual learning platforms that we have been working with since March this year, when the lockdown was set in place. So we're planning next year for various situations, and actually there are three. We'll either be on campus working as we have done previously, which is unlikely that we will be unaffected. We will possibly be fully online and not able to access campus, or we more likely will be adopting a blended learning pattern where there will be some access to campus and still teaching and learning happening online. We're hoping at this moment in time that we'll be able to greet you fully on campus, as I say, but we're adapting and we're prepared for all of these options. Whatever the case, we want to make sure that you can still take the next step in your development as planned, and we appreciate you're in control of this, but we do want to reassure you that we are able to continue and teach you effectively online and virtually. If for the first few months of your study you're at home or you're in accommodation in London, then we will do our best to make sure that you are able to study in an uncompromised way with us. And whenever you are able to join us on campus, we will give you full support, as we will off campus, to adapt to uni life with us. So I'm not sure what your situations are at the moment. I'm assuming that I'm talking to all of you who have offers with us, and I hope that by running through these reasons to join us, that you will be convinced that you will be able to study with us and study with us effectively with an uncompromised experience at Middlesex. So on to those reasons, and number one I want to talk about out of the 10 is our community. We pride ourselves at Middlesex as being a global university. We're open to everyone. Wherever you're coming from, we give you the opportunity to find your own path to success. When you study with us, you'll join our community of students from 145 different nationalities who bring their different experiences to Middlesex, and you'll open your mind to new ideas and perspectives when you leave us, and you'll be ready for success in the global workplace. So we are a community. We use this word a lot. We're a community with diverse knowledge, skills and experience. And that applies to our academics, our tutors, and to everyone associated with our university students alike. The second good reason to join us is that we're in London. We're less than 25 minutes away from the centre of London by tube, and in London you'll be able to discover the city's richly diverse culture and have access to our fantastic museums and galleries. If online, when you join us, we will still be able to connect you with these fantastic facilities and these fantastic cultural places through the screen. So you will have access to these amazing inspirational places and events within our capital. Whether you're London born or London living, or whether you're coming to us afresh, I'm sure you'll be excited by the potential experience of these wonderful cultural sites on your doorstep. And number 3 is our campus, whether it be real or virtual. We have an amazing campus with excellent facilities based in Hendon in North London, that again is only 20-25 minutes by train from the centre of London. And we have on the campus 3 faculties, and that's a really interesting aspect of our campus, that it's not solely dedicated to arts and the creative industries. It has diversity in coverage of all manner of subject that you might potentially want to study at degree or postgraduate level, in science and technology, professional and social sciences, and arts and creative industries. So you rub shoulders with a whole mixture of students and academics that are connected with all of these subjects, which we really value as being a rich additional quality to university life. And within our faculty, we have a diverse array of subjects also, not just only in design, the department of which we're a part, but also in media, performing arts, and visual arts. And arts and creative industries as a group of subjects is based predominantly in the Grove Building, which is a fabulous resource and facility on campus that cost 80 million to build less than 10 years ago. So it's got state-of-the-art facilities within it. This is the main atrium space within that building, which is a fabulous social space and surrounded by studios. There are excellent workshops there where our interior students are used to using these facilities, and print facilities, metal workshops, fantastic photography studios and facilities to support photography and support our subjects, connected with reprographics that also support our subjects. And our subjects are taught in the Ritterman building, which is a brand new, again, a state-of-the-art facility that is only 3 years old. This is one of our studio spaces. And this is a lecture taking place by a practitioner that's visiting from professional practice. But of course, again, we may be in a situation where we're forced to communicate with you virtually. But again, I'll reassure you that what we've been doing since March is we've been communicating between staff, tutors, academics, and all of the teaching teams across the university with our students through Microsoft Teams and Zoom, for example, which we're doing now. And we found that we are totally, well, we've put a lot of work into totally preparing ourselves for this situation. And this situation is working successfully between staff and with our students. We're communicating as we would, as timetabled, but in as would obviously be different through the screen. This is a presentation sketches, showing visualizations of images. We can talk, as I'm doing now, through the screen. We can review work, we can record feedback, we can look at models that students might have prepared in the home that they cut up through paper and card. They produce sketches. We can also go into the screen and adapt, share screen, and work with those sketches. So we can do pretty much everything that we're doing on campus, the only thing missing is physical studio space. So number 4, our teachers. We are incredibly proud of our teaching staff that are dedicated to teaching the subject at Middlesex. And you will have 2 members of staff attached and dedicated to each module that you are learning on. And that means that in the studio, you would have 2 members of staff that you consult with throughout a project. And online, you will have tutorials with those same tutors. And you can see from this map that there are a group of tutors attached to each program. And then in the bands that go left to right, there are tutors attached to specific aspects of skills and knowledge learning, such as technical skills, drawing, is producing visualizations, for instance, and learning about the history and theory and writing about the subject. And then technicians who help in putting together ideas in a 3-dimensional sense. So where we may mock up aspects of the interior, where we might create full one-to-one scale models, or just helping in communicating digitally downline to a workshop to produce 3-dimensional models. Research and practice into teaching is something we talk about a lot because we place equal value on research and practice. And what I mean by that is that the members of the academic team may be very interested and involved in research and theory, and their experience may be predominantly there, or they may have a practice, a professional practice they may work for, they may have their own practice, they will have practice experience. So we tend to find that we're sort of either or, either theory related or practice related. Sometimes a bit of both, but we really, really pride ourselves on the fact that we have a blend of experience in our teaching team that combines the two. And this slide is showing a combination of papers and books and magazine articles that have been produced, the covers of those outputs that have been produced by our academic team. And many of us have our own websites. In practice, this is my site, davidfern.com. We have members of staff that are not necessarily, do not necessarily have a background in interior design or interior architecture. They may be architects, they may be furniture designers. We have a silversmith working with us. We have a glass maker. What we like about that is we've got this broad, again, diverse input into the subject of experience and value that the various individuals bring to our teaching. And I think that reflects the interdisciplinary nature of our subjects, that we touch aspects of the creative industries, whether it be furniture design, graphic design, product design, architecture, etc., and even fashion design. But one thing's for sure, that we all bear these words in common. We care, we're passionate, we're dedicated, and above all, we're curious. And we like to think about the subject and our approach to the subject of designing interiors as improving the quality of the places we inhabit and experience, which is quite an amazing responsibility, really, when you think about it, because we can affect the way people live. We do affect the way people live. And so having that opportunity to do that and take on that responsibility is a fantastic challenge, but a fantastic achievement when we do it well. And we do it well at Middlesex. So that's about our approach. And our approach is number 5. Our approach is focused on making places for people to inhabit and experience. And we call them places as opposed to spaces because they are inhabited, they are about people, they're experienced and people focused. And we concern ourselves with scale from the spoon, a teaspoon in a cup, to the city and the interior as a city. So again, interdisciplinary, diverse, and really challenging and exciting to address in terms of design. And the subject is often thought of predominantly as a visual thing, a style thing. But we want to make places that not only look good, they feel good. So we concern ourselves with the multi-sensory experience of the places that we design, not just the superficiality of the Instagram image or the Pinterest image. It's more than that. It's about how a place feels and how a place is perceived by the visitors. So we care about these things. And I talked about interdisciplinary, I've talked about diversity. Number 6 is about collaboration. The subject is a collaborative subject. We can't design and realize an interior on our own. We need a team of people to help us do it from different parts of the terrain, different experiences, different walks of life, different skills, different abilities to help us achieve the realization of an interior. At Middlesex, we collaborate with other schools, other like-minded institutions who have our values, who have our ethos. We have franchises and validated programs around the world. We have articulation agreements with other universities that allow their students to come to our university at different levels, not just necessarily year 1, year 2, year 3, and maybe MA. We also set up exchange relationships with those institutions where we offer opportunities for our students to study abroad. And we also exchange staff through staff mobility, where we can go to other universities and give workshops to their students, and vice versa, their staff come and teach and deliver workshops to our students. So these are some of the places that we collaborate with and have partnerships with. And we also collaborate and are very proud of our ties with professional practice. Ultimately, after graduating from our programs, the first thing on your mind is how to get employment, how to get into practice and get a job. So we build up that experience of practice through the networks, the ties, the contacts that we have with professional practice. And as part of that, we offer a 1-year practice placement opportunity at the end of the 2nd year. And that is not a guaranteed opportunity. It's an opportunity that we open up, but you have to competitively submit your CV to practices in order to be chosen to go on a 1-year out professional practice placement. That would involve your study extending to 4 years. Oops, sorry, no way. And these are some of the practices that have been into our campus to give talks and operate workshops and carry out tutorials and reviews with our students over recent years. Again, a diverse range of predominantly practices, but all very credible professional practices that our graduates have gone on to work with. So posters that we produced to advertise those talks that are delivered by professional practitioners when they're invited in to see our students. And then I want to talk about awards, because we win awards. We're very proud of the fact that we win awards. And we enter competitions to reach out and again connect with real situations. And an example of that is a project that we annually called the Retail Student Design Awards. And this is a group of 3 of our students with a client who is a creative director at Adidas. And Adidas set a brief for our students to design a store for them. And Edwin, in the centre there, won the competition and went on to work as an intern at Adidas for 3 months in Germany, and then a further 3 months with 2020 Design Consultancy in London, where he worked for 3 months there. One of the creative director there actually mentored the project. So as part of the relationship, a brief is set by a client, and someone from practice mentors our students working on the projects. We submit the project and then they're judged. And Edwin won on this occasion, and the other 2 students were highly commended. And the lady on the right, Roxanne, went on to work for 2020 after she graduated and is still there. And this year, only last month, the joint winners of this year's awards were announced, and this was for a project to design a Pizza Express. And this year we had joint winners. And this was the announcement in Essential Retail and Online magazine. And this was, interestingly, all judged online. The submissions were made online. So again, it's a good example of us working virtually to communicate our ideas, and then the industry judging those ideas and celebrating them through the digital realm, rather than through the campus or working in a face-to-face situation. These are the presentations, pages from the presentations from each of those students. And then another award, Architects for Health, which we enter usually every year. And this last year, Georgia Barton, one of our interior design graduates, won the best concept for that competition, which again is a national competition set to universities all over the country. And we're proud to say that she achieved best concept for her design in a major project before she graduated. Unfortunately, got it slightly wrong on the certificate there. It's BA Interior Design, not BA Interior Architecture that she studies. And there's a couple of pages from her project. So, very excited about the awards that we keep winning, and we will keep submitting student work for recognised and credible awards as they come up. And number 8 is our teaching. And this is about our teaching approach. And I want to just finish by showing a selection of work that illustrates why these words are very important to us. These words form the 7 key learning strands in our teaching and learning process. And this is a list of words that your projects will be assessed by, and you will be given grades against each of these aspects of the learning process. So they're interesting words to bear in mind. They're very straightforward: research, making, communication, process, design, and very importantly, practice and employability. So each module that you study on these programs is delivered through lectures, workshops, and assignments related to a series of design projects. This will remain the same whether you're on campus or whether you're online. And this communication will remain the same. And the way we assess our student work is through a digital submission of a portfolio and a physical submission of the same portfolio. If you're only studying online, allowed to study online or able to study online, then the digital mode of assessment will not compromise grades, it will not compromise achievement or experience. It will just be that is the way we read your work, which is fine. What I want to show is some examples of how those digital presentations are shown, and either through pages like this. This is a page out of a research section of the portfolio, or individual images that show the very high standard of communication skills that our students achieve. So starting with research underpins what we do. If you haven't carried out thorough and appropriate research, then you can't justify the design end. There's no point in having a great idea without you can justify why it is appropriate. And so research, as with our concern about connecting research with practice, research is fundamental as a connector. And so each project starts with thorough research. These are the pages from portfolios. And so it's each module you submit a portfolio, and that happens twice in the year, in February and in May. And so the portfolio will reflect the module work that has been carried out in each of those terms and each of the sections of the year. And the quality of research and the clarity in the research is something we place massive emphasis on, and the quality of the graphic layout of that research, because everything needs to be clear. And in process, we record all aspects of the process. We expect to record all aspects of the process, not just have an idea and reflect that and show a final design. So the process and the design development is incredibly important to us, and incredibly important to us understanding your abilities as a designer, the way you think and the way you communicate how you think. And we have a really high standard of portfolios that are produced that record the design process. Sometimes these portfolios are broken up into separate books, so the submission might be several publications of your work. This is the research and design development book that's produced by an interior architecture student. This was a page from a portfolio of the graduate project last year. This is actually Georgia's project, who won the Architects for Health competition for what was a mental healing hotel. Didn't mention that earlier. And making, we place a lot of emphasis on making as a valuable part of the learning process. And we encourage, when we're on campus, our students to make models as much as possible, as well as just work digitally. If you find yourself working from home at the beginning of the program, then we won't eliminate that aspect of the learning, but we'll adapt it to the making of small maquettes that are achievable through cutting up card and folding card and low-tech ways of manipulating material and forming three-dimensional structures and spaces. That will be still part of the learning, but when you get back onto campus, you have the opportunity to embrace the wide variety of facilities that will help to make models. These are some examples of models and fun maquettes and structures that have been made. This is a first-year project called Body and Space, which is looking at the relationship between the body and spatial structure and creating interesting forms around the body. But making also is about understanding making, understanding how things go together. So you learn how to create drawings like this and draw at detail, quality that shows your understanding of how things go together and how you can appreciate the detail involved in building an interior. So you're not just coming up with great crazy ideas, but you can actually show your understanding of how they go together, which practice really values. So if you find yourself learning virtually, you can do that through the screen very easily. And another example of that. And then communication is key to all aspects of the learning process. What I'm doing now is I'm communicating through a PowerPoint presentation. You will learn lots of different platforms, programs with which to communicate digitally. Again, if you find yourself learning virtually and experiencing the program initially virtually, these communication skills will come to the fore. How you communicate digitally will come to the fore. We will show you how to use InDesign, how to use Photoshop, how to use Vectorworks, how to use PowerPoint, how to use SketchUp. The skills, the context and skills modules that are embedded throughout the learning process will give you the opportunity to learn all of these skills and learn all of these programs with which to communicate. This is a visual produced actually at the end of the first year by first year students, so it shows the sort of level of quality of communication and presentation, the clarity and the atmosphere that can be created by that stage in the program. And all of these are obviously digitally produced through different programs, different ways of recording the interior and communicating the quality of the design using those various programs. So a series of drawings here and one or two models that are showing different ways of communicating, but also showing, illustrating different characteristics, different individual approaches to communicating. What we don't want to do is, we don't have a formula, we don't have a particular style at Middlesex that we want you to adopt or adapt to. We value your individuality, your personality, and bringing that out in all that you do. And then ultimately, all of this work that is presented in the portfolio and submitted as a portfolio will build into a final portfolio or two final portfolios or three final portfolios that you produce in your third year that will be ready for practice. By refining and developing your presentation skills, by the time you get to the third year, you're working on portfolio quality material that you will present to professional practice for employment. So it's not a case of being assessed, finishing the program and then thinking, oh my goodness, I've now got to produce a portfolio. How do I do that? You will know it will be second nature. You will have a portfolio ready to go. And those were a couple of examples. That's an example, sorry, of portfolio, and this is another one. Some pages from the first one, an interior architecture portfolio, and this one, an interior design portfolio. And that means you'll be ready for employability. And again, we place a lot of emphasis on getting to that point, getting to that level of quality, that level of professionalism, that understanding of what professional practice is looking for. And essentially, at the end of the day, you will be totally adept and totally capable of communicating digitally through all aspects of the design process, communicating the quality of your design proposals. And so even though if you're on campus, you may not have the opportunity, if you're not on campus, you may not have the opportunity to produce a physical portfolio, you will be able to communicate digitally at all times. And ultimately that's what is valued. So there's no reason why, whether you're working on campus or whether you're working digitally, virtually from your own home, you can't have the same experience working at Middlesex, studying at Middlesex, and produce the same body of work and understand the same, have the same knowledge and skills understanding as you would on campus. Obviously on campus, you have that added experience of being able to socialize and be able to engage face to face, which we all value and we all want to get back to. But certainly I can reassure you that your experience will not be compromised through the cause of this epidemic that we're experiencing currently. And that all comes down to your achievement. And number 10 is all about us ensuring your achievement and every opportunity you can have, you can possibly take to maximize your achievement with us. And we annually record that achievement through our unique publications that have become now totally connected with Middlesex. This is an unprecedented and a unique format that only we have. Annually we produce a magazine that reflects all of the achievements of our students, a cross-section of work across all of the interiors programs. And if you've been to interview, you will have seen this and gone away with copies. It's available digitally, and this year we're for the first time making a website to reflect these achievements and to reflect the operations within the directorate. Ultimately, again, it comes down to caring, being passionate, being dedicated, and being curious. We as staff have that, and we expect our students to have that. So, hope you choose to come to Middlesex, and we'd love to welcome you to your future. If you want to find out more, have a look at Instagram, Interiors MDX, or go onto Twitter and follow us on Twitter, Interiors MDX. We think you will have a fantastic time studying at Middlesex, and we'd love to welcome you to a very exciting future. Thank you. I hope that was helpful. I hope that reassured. And if you have any questions, please fire away. Thank you very much.
Hi, David. It's Chris. I've just got a question in the Q&A chat from Lauren. She says, starting as a second-year student, will I have access to first year's resources? For example, tutorials on software I may not have used at my previous university.
Yes, you will have, well, when you say software, what I've not mentioned is that what we're doing moving forward next year is every student will have the Adobe suite, free access to that throughout. And so that is one resource that is a free resource. All of the computers on site, on campus, are loaded up with a variety of software programs. And we will recommend particular programs for use at different stages in the program. but we will certainly make sure that with regard to the Adobe suite, you have access to that from day one, whether you're studying on campus or online. And if you join in year 2, then you will have that access also. So I think with regard to specific programs, that we will adjust according to students' needs and respond accordingly, because different students will have different setups regarding their own computers, regarding their home facility, regarding what they bring to campus, etc.
Cool.
Does that answer the question?
Just a couple more questions from Abdul-Astar. What's the best laptop to get for the course?
That's a good one. I always use Mac. Most of the subjects in the creative industries, probably aside from architecture, use Apple Macs, but of course Apple Macs are very expensive. So we find that students using PCs can get often undoubtedly a much better deal in the purchase, and the programs that we run on Macs, most of them will run on a PC anyway. So most of our students, a lot of our students will, not most, but a lot of our students will have PCs. I wouldn't like to say what the percentage is actually of one or the other, but we have a mixture. So if you get a good quality PC, you can run the programs that we would use in the teaching on the programs. Yeah, does that answer that one?
Hello, Professor.
Hello there.
Yeah, I'm an exchange student from Taiwan, and
oh, hello.
I go to Middlesex in 3rd years, and I have a few questions that what kind of skill or course will we learn? And I heard that we need to write a thesis, and
yeah.
You just like suggest what kind of skill I can focus during this time, June to
okay. Well, when you say what skills will I learn, I think that what I've just been through in the presentation, I hope illustrates the sort of thing that we communicate to you in terms of the design process that you will experience. I've not on this occasion gone through specific projects and specific design briefs, but each module will carry a design brief. If you're entering in the 3rd year, what we tend to do in the 3rd year, is it interior architecture you're looking at?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm studying interior design in Taiwan, so
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, the programs are very similar in terms of what skills you learn. The difference between the 2 programs is essentially that interior architecture is more architecture focused, I guess, than interior design, in that it is more related to a specific site, a specific building, and the modeling and adaptation of that building. Whereas interior design tends to be more commercial, probably a little bit more brand aware, and designs could be realized in different sites and different locations. So it's not so dependent on the building. But both programs in the 3rd year tend to adopt a theme of study. So you will look at specific sites, and you will be working in a specific context, maybe looking at a specific type of use. For instance, in interior architecture this year, all of the focus was on food, the way we consume food, the way we manufacture food, the way we recycle food, looking at all the different aspects of all the different aspects connected with food. In interior design, the focus was around the river, looking at the River Thames, and the sites were on the River Thames. And so we were looking at a specific quality of London living that might relate to the Thames. And that could be a variety of things, looking at health, looking at leisure, looking at work, and students were free to choose. But the point I'm making is the whole year was dedicated to looking at that subject. And then the year is divided into 2 modules. The first module is a sort of small, minor design project. And then half of the grade for that module is dedicated to, as you mentioned, the dissertation. Is a requirement to write, I think it's between 6,000 and 8,000 words. And we try to connect that writing and the research to a specific, the specific study of the year. So it's not something divorced from the research that you would do as part of the design study. So yes, you do have to write, and the dissertation is 50% of the first grade of the first module. And then the second module is the major project. So that's the culmination of the whole program, and it's the major design project that you carry out in the third year. So does that help you in understanding how you would study and what you would study?
Yeah.
In terms of whether you could get any advice about the dissertation, what we do at the beginning, around sort of July time, it's likely that you will be communicated through the year leader or the module leader, who will start to inform students about the sort of thing that we are considering focusing on that year. We're hoping to do that. I said July, it's probably unlikely to be before the beginning of August, but we're trying to give students a bit of a head start, something to think about before they arrive. And also we recognise that students that are coming directly into the third year do not have the preceding year to understand, you know, quite the way we work and the sort of process that we expect you to go through. So you're slightly disadvantaged there, but in the experience of other students that have gone your route and started in year 3, generally we find that they catch up with that quite quickly, and they succeed as well as other students who are coming straight through from the second year. You will also have access to a list of digital books. Obviously, if we're not able to access campus, you can't access a fantastic library resource, which is amazing, but we have a fantastic digital resource as well. Starting, you'll be made aware of that and given access to that sort of reading and that resource that our library is putting out. So does that help? Hello?
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah, really. Thank you so much.
Good. And hopefully the presentation will give you an idea of the sort of quality of presentation and the sort of standards of communication that we expect by the end of the third year. Yeah?
All right.
Well,
Okay.
So David, a couple more questions. One from Debbie. She says, thank you so much. I was wondering, as an undergraduate coming into first year, how many hours of work and classes do we get?
Okay, so the week is, it's obviously a full-time program, but we recognize that students today have other obligations, other responsibilities, and therefore we don't expect you to be on campus for the full 5 days. You have 2 days that you're required to be in the studio, or again, I have to say, if online, you're required to be available online. During those 2 days, you will have access to 2 tutors that are responsible for the module and responsible for the projects that you are delivering. You will be briefed on those 2 days on various design projects, and there will be tutorials, workshops, reviews, etc., carried out on those 2 days. The days depend on the year and the module, but an example is that currently year 1 interior design is on Tuesday and Friday, and interior architecture is on Monday and Thursday. Actually, I might have that the wrong way around, but anyway, you get the idea. So Monday and Thursday 1, and Tuesday and Friday the other. So you're expected to be present and attend during those days. Then on the Wednesday, that is the day that we have our context and skills module delivery, which comprises of lectures on the history and the context of the subject. You will have a weekly lecture, and then you have skills workshops that are delivered also on a Wednesday that comprise of initially, they start with how to draw by hand, how to sketch, how to draw in perspective, draw orthographically by hand, that sort of thing. Then you learn in design, you learn Photoshop, you learn the various digital programs. You might do a bit of model making. Essentially, it's the skills, the community skills, the thinking skills, the process skills that you develop during those sessions. In the first year, there are the 2 sessions, the lecture and the workshop. In the second year, you have a similar sort of thing, but by the time you get to the second year, you're looking at advanced digital skills, also looking at making, looking at construction, and understanding how the interior is built in more detail. And then in the third year, the focus is very much on the dissertation, and Wednesday sessions are not so, they're more limited. You may have, again, construction skills workshops, CAD skills workshops on a Wednesday, but the history is very much self-taught, focused on your own research and your own dissertation compilation at that point. So essentially there are 3 touch points, 2 in studio days, and then the 1 Wednesday, which is skills and knowledge building on the subject. Okay? But of course, we expect you to study as much as you possibly can. We expect you to, when you come to Middlesex, we expect you to think like a designer, behave like a designer, and be a designer. And really, I can tell you from my own experience that a designer is not limited to working a certain amount of time a week. You are always thinking as a designer and developing your creative skills, and you can come up with ideas anytime, 24/7. So it's about believing in yourself, about being dedicated, as I say, and about having the passion to do what is required of an interior designer or an interior architecture student or practitioner, and believing in what you do rather than trying to limit your study, working your life around your study, and working your study around your life is really important. Okay, does that help?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, good, good.
Great.
Anyone else?
Couple more questions, just quickly. From Barna. Hi, I might have missed this point, but when will you inform us whether the teaching will be online or on campus?
I think that, as I said right at the beginning, we are currently working towards greeting everyone on campus at the end of September. However, we are very much dependent on guidelines and government advice. and therefore we cannot commit to whether that will be possible or not until we know for sure what the university strategy is. And the university is guided by the government. But I keep saying but, we have been working online and virtually now since mid-March, and we have seen all of our students in all years submit their portfolios and complete their year. And we've been adapting and developing the programs online now for those 3 months. And so we're fully equipped, fully prepared to greet students virtually if required. Obviously, that is not ideal, but we are fully prepared to do it, and we do not see your experience being compromised in terms of starting the program, and we really want to reassure you on that.
Great. And then just one more question. As a foundation applicant for interiors, what would the weekly schedule look like?
The schedule on foundation is a little different to the one I've just described, in that it is 5 days a week, and you are expected to connect with your tutors on every day of the week. It's quite an intensive program, but it's a very rich program. And I think that in detail, I wouldn't like to get into the detail of that answer over this line. Probably what I would like to refer you to is the detailed course structure, which I'm not sure how much detail there is online on our website. If you would like to email me, I can connect you with that timetable in more detail. If you email me on d.fern@mdx.ac.uk. If you'd like to email me, I will either send you that information or pass the information on to the program leader, who can then communicate with you. Because it's quite detailed, because it's every day of the week, and although because we're adapting that program as well to be online, there are certain things that are being developed that you need to really connect in with the program leader. Okay, but I can say that what we're aiming to do is we're aiming to send out a starter pack of information and detail and tools for students that are about to start on the foundational level.